Super Rugby round 17, Saturday games. Some teams pretty disappointing, and other teams really, really impressive. We have at least another team who is out of the running, and there's kind of four teams really jockeying for position. But we will start with the first one. The Crusaders 66-0 over the Rebels. Talk about bounce back from a loss. I mean, it started with a very nice welcome for Ryan Crotty, 150th cap. His club rugby side were there, and they welcomed him. There was a haka, and it was all very, very well done. And then, there was that kind of talk about would the Crusaders bounce back and punish the Rebels, or is this travel schedule of South Africa back to New Zealand to Fiji, back to New Zealand, is that going to add up for the Crusaders? No, it was that bounce back one. 66-0. The first 5 minutes were loose, and the Rebels actually won a scrum penalty against the Crusaders, and I thought, maybe things are going to happen. Hodge misses a pretty long distance penalty. And then that was it, man. Reese got a try from his cross kick after a scrum. It was 7-0. Not long later, Kieran Reid actually drops the ball cold. All he has to do is run to the try line and score. And again, there's a slight moment of doubt in my mind that the Crusaders are fully slick and doing their thing. But no, that's quickly put to rest because Havili gets a try after a turnover, a Goodhue offload. And Havili has a bit of a step in the lead up to it. I guess he was stepped last week, so he wanted to put that pain onto somebody else. 14-0. The Rebels get a penalty on the 18th minute, and Hodge tries to chew off a few more meters, kicks the ball dead. So he's already missed a penalty at the sticks, and then he's kicked the ball dead. You just cannot be doing that against the Crusaders. Half an hour, Enor scores a try. He had part in the setup as well to pick it up from his ankles. From a kick through, they missed the conversion. It's 19-0. Interestingly, Crotty and Goodhue both took knocks in that first half and were looking pretty tender, but still managed to keep on playing. Although Coleman did go off for the Rebels. Enor got a try right on halftime, another Mo'unga cross kick, and it was 26-0 at halftime, looking pretty bad for the Rebels. Bad got worse in the second half. The Crusaders held the Rebels out for a few minutes and then went down the other end 60 metres. Reese to Hall, who scored 33 zip. Reese got a try. There was a quick tap, and I've written that Hodge was unlucky. I can't remember why. There were that many tries in that game. 40-0. Enor got another try after some scrum work, and then they went down the left wing. 47-0. Havili got a try from a line-out play. 54-0. Quade Cooper got booed when he came on late in the second half, and the commentators gave the crowd a bit of grief for that. I mean, the booing thing has been going for a long, long time. And man, they were down 54-0. Like, give it a rest, honestly. I've never been one to really boo. I was as a kid. I would boo as a kid. But, I don't know, I've always thought booing just inspires the other team to play harder. But at 54-0, man, no point. Probably half the people booing him don't even know what they're booing him for, because it was a long time ago that there was that Richie McCaw thing. Anyway, Reese got a try on 74 minutes. Crotty had the line break and the offload. I thought maybe it looked marginally forward, but at that point it really did not matter. Somehow Cameron missed the conversion, and it was 59-0. And Enor knocked on from a little grubber kick through, could have had another try to himself, but I missed that. Again, it didn't matter in the scheme of things. Game ended on a nice note for Ryan Crotty. In his 150th, he scores a try from the last scrum of the game, and he converted it himself. 66-0. That's a proper hiding. The Rebels, they really looked, I can't remember what point it was, but they just stopped playing. And the Crusaders were on fire. So a combination of those things leads to that scoreline. 898 run meters to 341. That's a lot of run meters. Tackling percentages, the Crusaders were at 87. The Rebels were at 64. And I think they're lucky to be at 64. It seemed lower. The Crusaders have the bye next week. They're guaranteed top spot no matter what. The Rebels have a do-or-die match against the Chiefs back in Melbourne. They will either use this result to get some resolve and pick themselves back up, or they'll go into their shell and get another hiding. We will see. The Rebels are in 8th on 34 points, so clinging on to a playoff spot by a thread. And if they were to go in 8th, guess who they'd go and play? How much chance would you give them? Anyway, second game. Waratahs against Brumbies. I didn't watch this one live. I went to bed. I decided I would focus on the morning games. So yeah, I didn't watch this one live. Waratahs are done. That's pretty much them. They needed to get a win out of Western Sydney. I don't think they've got any wins there yet. I think it's their third game there. Interestingly, they did actually look to be a decent crowd at this one, which was surprising, I guess. But it's a do or die, and it's a derby game, so I suppose there was a good reason for the people to get out there. But the Waratahs, couldn't get it done. They did take a lead early through Foley, kicked a penalty, but then Arnold got a try. It looked like he was shaping to pass, but then he just had the reach to get out there. 7-3, so the lead changed. Muirhead got driven over on 18 minutes. The ref saw a grounding, I didn't, but hey, he was in a better position than me. 14-3, sorry. Simone got a try from Kurandrani, line break, 21-3, and then a maul try. Arnold had a great line-out take. It was Faenga who got the try, and it was 28-3 at halftime, looking pretty comfortable for the Brumbies. But second half, Waratahs actually do come back into it. Phipps gets a try. It is the biggest dummy I've ever seen that's successful. He really heaved the ball from all the way past his shoulder and just didn't let it go. Biggest dummy ever, and he snuck over for a try from about 5 meters out. 28-10. And then, interestingly, the highlights skipped from that 47th minute try to 70 minutes. So I have no idea what happened in the meantime. Was it a whole lot of nothing? You guys will have to let me know. Adam Ashley Cooper got his try from a Foley kick through, made it 17-28, so kind of game on. But then Cusack gets his try looked at by the TMO, looking for a knock on. They don't find one. So it's 35-17. Rona gets a try right towards the end. Down the left wing, 35-24 is how it finishes. The Waratahs looked absolutely dejected after this result, and I guess kind of rightly so, because their season is pretty much done and dusted. Run meters, 318 to the Tars, 458 to the Brumbies, so they edged it there. And you'll notice that's Muirhead is a back, although he scored kind of like a forward, and Simone is a back, so it wasn't all forwards that got their tries. And Kurandrani looked pretty good as well. Tackling percentages were both in the mid 80s, so that's actually pretty decent, despite the fact that both sides passed 20 points. Possession pretty even. The Waratahs edged the territory. So yeah, the Brumbies will either go through second or third, depending on the results. But the fact that the Jaguares have got the Sunwolves, it is probably going to be the Brumbies going through third to host a quarterfinal. The Waratahs have got the Highlanders away next week in a bit of a dead rubber, and the Brumbies have got the Reds. I'll be back in 2 ticks. All right, and the Brumbies are going to play the Reds. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of rest some players for that one, now that they are guaranteed a home playoff. Next one. The Hurricanes against the Lions over in Joburg. I did watch this one, but I watched it simultaneously with the Jaguares one in the morning. So, I have watched it. I think I saw the majority of it. There's probably a few things I missed, given that I was, kind of switching between the two. One was on the computer, one was on the TV. So, interestingly, the Hurricanes had some lineup changes. There was no Burton Barrett. Geordie Barrett had to move back to fullback, and the Lions had Levis out as well. So both sides were a bit disrupted in the lead up to this one. I wanted to watch this one because both these sides, I think it was 4th against 5th on the table anyway. So it really looked to be a cracking game on paper. It started off with Laumapi getting kind of a battering ram inside ball try from a lineup move 7-zip, but then Dianti got a try from a chip over, and the Hurricanes defense was kind of at 6s and 7s with the bounce of the ball, 7-all. Tia did well to scramble in goal to get rid of a ball. It was kind of lucky. He was lucky to get to it before Mapu did. And then the Lions held up from a maul. later on. They did manage to kick a penalty after a lot of pressure on the Hurricanes, and they made it 10-7. So that was the only time they led the match. Interestingly, Quacker Smith went off. He had a line break. He ended up passing outside. He probably should have passed inside, and then the Lions might have scored a try. But either way, whatever he did in that line break must have hurt because it cost him, and he had to go off injured. So he was replaced after about 25 minutes. Yeah, the Lions did go close with advantage. Deontay, yeah, he was sharp. He was looking one of the more dangerous players. It's kind of good because he's had a better second half to the season than the first half for sure. But yeah, Rayasi knocked the ball into touch at one point when there was a kick over and he just didn't take it. It was a bit poor. But before halftime, Jordie Barrett got the only other points of the first half, kicking a penalty. So it was 10-all at halftime. I felt like the Lions probably should have had more points in that first half, but not to be. Second half, a lot of changes. Yankees comes on for the Lions. Coles comes on. Savea comes on. It seems like it was a strategy of the Hurricanes to save some of the big guns for that second half. I guess at altitude it's a thing. And then the second half starts pretty terribly for the Lions. They miss a kickoff. It was pretty slack. And Ben Lamb just runs the ball and collects the kickoff, which was loose. It's 17-10. It was like a minute later, maybe 2 minutes later, Jordie Barrett has to tackle an absolutely flying Kalu Sadi, and he manages to do it. So that was impressive enough that I wrote a note. Also, Tumunga Allen went off not long later looking a bit crook. I'm not sure what happened to him, but he didn't look well. Jordie Barrett kicks a penalty on 46 minutes, makes it 20 points to 10, so 10-point lead. And then Savia, kind of doing an impression of his brother, gets a big break down the right wing. He goes through Yankees and gets the ball to Lamb. They make it a try. They miss the conversion, but it's 25 points to 10, so looking fairly comfortable. But then the Lions have a try, TMO'd off because they said there was obstruction on Lamapi in the build-up to Andres Kutsia getting a try. It was good build-up, man. Skorsan had a line break. Daimani had a good run, but it was TMO'd at the end of the day. And the Canes defense really just had to hold in their own half again and again and again. Deontay finally gets the Lions breakthrough. It was kind of Yankees who started it. It was 17 points to 25. Again, it's kind of game on, but then Coles tried on the right wing. There was a high tackle on Perinara in the build-up, again from Daimani. It seemed like more of a seatbelt around the shoulder. Maybe he kind of crashed into the turf hard, but he certainly made the most of it. It seemed more like a soccer-style one where he was kind of outraged. He seemed to be calling out for the ref's assistance as he was falling, but then he did seem to hit the ground pretty hard. But either way, he did seem to make it pretty theatrical. Anyway, they got a try in the process, so 32 points to 17. And then there was another moment with, I wrote down both of these for guys getting the ball out of their own end goal. It was Tyrone Green. He looked like he was going to be tackled in his end goal area as well, but he managed to get it out somehow. Impressive. Coles gets a try after a maul in 75 minutes and makes it 37 points to 17. And that's it. So that win pretty much guarantees the Hurricanes. They were almost guaranteed it anyway, but they're guaranteed a home quarterfinal. They're on like 49 points, I think, now. They edged the run meters in this game, 625 to 602. Possession was with the Lions, 56%. Territory with the Lions, 58%. But the Lions' defense, once again, drops below 70% tackling. It was at 69. The Hurricanes weren't that much better at 75, but 69 is bad. And it is costing the Lions. Like, they can score a lot of points, but they're letting the other team score more. So, I've had a look at the table, and I feel like the Lions are probably safe. 1 point doing it for them. They got the Bulls next week away. I'll have to have a really proper look at the maths on the table. But it seems unlikely that they won't make it at this point. But hey, I guess we will wait and see. They are 6th on 35 points. So the main reason is because a couple of teams below them are kind of playing each other. So even if one team gets a win that's below them, the other team they're playing will lose. So it seems unlikely that the Lions can go out. But if any of you guys have done the maths on it, feel free to correct me. The Hurricanes host the Blues they'll probably play something of a second string team as well. So maybe the Blues will be able to finish on a high. I guess we will see. The next one, Stormers Sunwolves. Again, I've only seen the highlights of this one. I guess the ultimate story is the Stormers did not manage a bonus point win, but they did get the win. So Parker opens the scoring with a penalty, 3-zip. And Bonambi gets a maul try. It seemed like most of the Stormers team was in that maul, so it's a good thing they scored. 7-3. Barry gets a try. Dan Creel kind of had a tackle and stole the ball at the same time, and then went down the field. So it was 14-3. Sunwolves kicked a penalty. 14-6 is how it was at half-time. Yaku Kutsia gets a try. He was not held. He might have been held, but the highlights showed he was not held. In the tackle, 21 points to 6. Masarewa, who has to be one of the best players in Super Rugby, despite playing for the bottom team, he is one of the leading try scorers. On the hour, gets a try from a Yamada offload, 21 points to 13. Stunder kicks a penalty. Interesting that they went for the penalty, given that was bonus points needed, although I guess at 21-13, they were just worried about getting the win. 24-13 after the penalty. A maul try again, it's Yaku Kutsia who gets the points. It's 31-13, and then Masarewa goes over in the corner. The Sunwolves showed quick hands, and it's 31-18 at the finish. So it's a win for the Stormers. It's not convincing, but we have to keep in mind they did change like half their team and played a lot of less experienced guys in this game. Somehow they got that many points despite having less possession, 42%, less territory, 41%, fewer run meters, 328 to the Sunwolves, 409. They did have a better tackling percentage at 89% compared to the Sunwolves, 82. 82 for the Sunwolves is solid. But they made 120 tackles to the Sunwolves, 69. So were the Stormers under the pump, or were the Sunwolves just running into a brick wall? I'm not sure. Penalties conceded, 12 to the Sunwolves, 3 to the Stormers. So that theme continues throughout the Sunwolves season. This win moves the Stormers up into 7th on 34 points, but they are by no means safe, because this is what I'm talking about when I was talking about that Lions game. They are playing the Sharks, and the Sharks are just below them. So if they lose to the Sharks, they're probably going to swap places. The Sunwolves go away to the Jaguares, so they will finish their season in Argentina. That looks like a pretty hard result for them as well. But again, at least this one wasn't a hiding. They seem to have some away fans there, so maybe they will have something to cheer about in that final week. But the Jaguares at the moment are looking pretty tough. The last one, the Jaguares, speaking of pretty tough, 34 points to 7 is a pretty dominant win over the Sharks. As I said, I watched this one. Man, the light is funny this morning. I watched this one alongside the Hurricanes game, so I watched the majority of it. Cancellieri got the tries underway early. Down the right wing, he had enough gas to beat Mapimpi, who did do good work to try and catch him, but not quite. 5-zip, and then Boffelli, who was probably man of the match, because he was amazing. Had an inside ball, 12-0. The ref, what have I written? He checked Esterhuizen in the contest of a high ball. That was after the kickoff. Just a penalty. There were quite a few handling errors in the first half. On both sides as well, and the Jaguares line speed was doing that to the Sharks at times, but like before half an hour there were already 7 scrums, so there was a lot of stop-start stuff. Bonija missed 2 penalties in a row. I thought maybe Boffelli might have taken the long distance one, and then Boffelli took a third one. It hit the post, so they missed 3 penalties in a row, and I was wondering if that was going to be costly for the Jaguares, but in the end it wasn't. But it was only 12-0 at half time. Bonija finally kicked a penalty in the second half, made it 15-0. 45 minutes, the Sharks had a chance to opt for 3, but they didn't. I guess 15-0 down, they thought they need tries. They kicked for touch, about 10 metres out, they won another penalty, and then from there they lost the line out, so didn't manage to get any points. Another try to the Jaguares, I think it was on like 52 minutes. Must have been 59. It was Cancellieri. They made it 29-0. Did I miss a try there? 22-0. Boffelli take. Oh yes, Boffelli's try. Did I not write it down? 33. Something is amiss with my board. Either way, the Jaguares had tries in the second half. I promise I did watch the game. Just my notes are not very good. The Sharks finally did get a try on 67 minutes through Esterhazy, and that guy is a bit of a battering ram when he goes through a pace. And they had like penalties in the lead up, so the Sharks really needed to score. It was 29-7, and then Miotti, who had no time to make a kick, somehow managed to get a kick through for Crusaders, who got the try, made it 34 points to 7. They missed the conversion. And yeah, a pretty comfortable win in the end for the Jaguares, a bonus point win. So they will, in all likelihood, finish second because they have the Sunwolves next week. They will probably win that. So the Brumbies will, in all likelihood, not pass them for second spot. So potentially the Jaguares, well, they definitely have a home quarterfinal as the South African Conference winners. If they could win that, they potentially also have a home semi-final. So yeah, a big season for the Jaguares. They are really coming good. The Sharks now are in 9th spot on 33 points, so they dropped out of the playoffs with this loss. But as I said, they do have the Stormers away, so they do have one last chance to get back amongst it. Run meters were pretty even, both 370 odd. Possession slightly to the Sharks and territory slightly to the Sharks. Penalties conceded were even. Tackling percentages were pretty even. But if you look at all the try scorers, Cancellieri, Carreras, and Boffelli, all their quick men were just able to add a bit of X factor in this one. So looking at the final few results, the reason I think the Lions were safe is I had a look. The Stormers are in 7th on 34. The Rebels are 8th on 34. The Sharks are 9th on 33. And the Chiefs are 10th on 31. Now, the Stormers are playing the Sharks and the Rebels are playing the Chiefs. So, I feel like either way, do the Highlanders have a potential sniff if they can get a bonus point win and one of the other teams don't? Maybe. But it seems like 2 of these teams are going to go up and 2 of them are going to go down. So, it just kind of depends on that final week. But yeah. Is it just me or did the Lions that I mentioned, did they get the wrong end of the 50-50 calls in that game? I don't know. It just seemed a little bit that some of the 50-50s would go the Hurricanes' way. It didn't matter with 20-point victory, but either way. Yeah. You guys let me know your thoughts on this penultimate round of Super Rugby. How do you think these teams are going to pan out for the playoffs? Who were you particularly impressed by or potentially disappointed by? If you have any clarity to add on those 2 games that I haven't seen in full, that being the Waratahs, Brumbies, and Stormers Sunwolves, do let me know. Otherwise, I will talk to you again soon. See you later.